each of us has a choice to make about how we respond, how we move forward after this attack. History will write what comes next, but each of us can decide now what we do. And the natural inclination for a lot of us, particularly in our generation, my generation, those who are the same age as Charlie, is to be fearful and to be angry. We can choose to channel that into honoring his legacy by doing what he did and engaging with other people and debating them and very firmly talking about our ideas, but doing so in a way that helps the country move forward in a better direction, in a nonviolent direction, and hopefully write a better chapter in history.
Yeah, and I understand some people are highlighting some of the reactions, especially online, that have not been positive to this, and we'll talk about some of that too. But and maybe you disagree, but I've seen a lot of good the last couple of days from people, particularly young people, and conservatives, liberals alike, saying the right thing, and from people in leadership, like this governor, saying the right thing. I'll play one more clip from Governor Cox talking about your generation, and then you can pick up on that point that you were making about what you guys can do with this. But here's what he said about the better path.
Your generation has an opportunity to build a culture that is very different than what we are suffering through right now. Not by pretending differences don't matter, but by embracing our differences and having those hard conversations. I think we need more moral clarity right now. I hear all the time that words are violence. Words are not violence. Violence is violence.
Yeah, like I said, it was powerful today that Governor Cox said. That was right at the end of the news conference. Did you agree, and what did you make of that, and how do you put it into to action?
Words are not violence. Violence is violence. My generation and Generation Alpha and Z and all these, they often are talking about how, oh, I'm traumatized. You were violent against me because you said something that was offensive or I didn't agree with. And this example, more than any other, proves that that is not true. That is entirely wrong. And if we don't continue to have dialogue, we don't continue to disagree and talk about our differences and not just accept them, but just keep working through them and learning how to live with each other despite our differences, more of this will continue. That is hopefully the legacy that Charlie Kirk will leave with us, that we must engage with each other more often.
Okay, give me some of your personal thoughts then on Charlie, what he meant to you. And then the question we asked before the last break was that, there is this practical part of his death that, for young conservatives especially, there's a hole to fill. There was a influence that he had, and then, where does that so-called, movement go from here?
Charlie was a uniquely effective figure at bringing in young people to the conservative movement. He was eloquent, he was thoughtful, he was intelligent, he understood conservative ideas and could communicate them to young people in such a powerful way. No one is going to replace him. He's going to leave a void that no man, no woman can step into. But I believe he also set an example of courage and forthrightness and boldness that if we take that example and we all act upon it, then together in an aggregate, each of us standing up in our own way can fill that void and make it even better than it was before.
Doing things like he did, literally going to college campuses and saying things like, prove me wrong, and doing it out in the open, or will there be, an understandable kind of fear associated with that after this, do you think?
There will be fear, absolutely. But frankly, that's all the more reason for us to go to campuses. Your previous guest was saying that it's going to be harder for these kinds of events to occur. It absolutely will be harder, but we have to do the hard work to figure out how to do them. We have to show up back at that same campus in Utah and do the exact same thing he was doing, because that's the only way we don't let his assassin win. It's the only way we get forward as a country.
Okay, Hayden, good to talk to you. Tough circumstances, of course, but thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.